once again, thank you all for being here today as we continue on in our Proverbs series. We're in pursuit of wisdom. We're trying to get wise, and we're reading this book together. I hope you're enjoying it. I'm sending out emails to those of you who have requested it. I hope you don't feel like I'm bombarding you. I'm just trying to give you a little bit of direction here and there and some things to highlight. Something changed this week in the reading. Did you notice this? It got more intense. I don't know, was it around chapter 10 that it was just like really dense and rapid fire wisdom nuggets from Solomon? That's what they were originally going to call the book, rapid fire wisdom, but they went with Proverbs instead. No, it's gotten denser. We've got these beautiful little couplets, these little statements, these poetic statements that just give us a little piece of wisdom, and then you move on. A little piece of wisdom, little piece of wisdom, little piece of wisdom. And that's part of the challenge of trying to do like a series about the book of Proverbs in a month. I started to rethink that maybe we should have done this like over the course of a year because there's so much stuff and it's so good. It's so good. I sound like, a preacher when I say, oh, the Bible, it's so great. But it really is. This stuff is really, really good. And so I hope that you're taking the time to, to meditate on and to chew over what you've read and to really engage with what's being said here. And so much, I got to say this, and this is kind of like a little side note here, but so much of what's contained in the book of Proverbs, it just applies to everybody. I mean, it really all applies to everybody. It's not about, it's just trying to be a religious person or a person of faith. It's just, so much of what Solomon has to say is just like, this is good wisdom for everybody to follow. Now, this week, what I was struck by was how many times that Proverbs talks about words. Solomon telling us about our words, the words that we speak, the words that we don't speak, the words of the fools and what happens there, and the words of the wise, and how careful we need to be about our words. I want to give you a few examples. This is just from, in chapter 10 alone, 10:14, the wise store up knowledge, but the mouth of a fool invites ruin. 10:19, sin is not ended by multiplying words, but the prudent hold their tongues. The tongue of the righteous is choice silver, but the heart of the wicked is of little value. And it goes on and on and on, talking about our words and how our words can get us into trouble, how our words can cause us harm, how our words can cause harm to other people. We need to be careful about the words that we speak, not just the words that we speak, and it's not just literally talking about what's coming out of your face, what's coming out of your mouth, but the ideas that we put out there, the written word, the spoken word, the stuff we put online, the stuff that we send out in emails to our coworkers or whatever it is, the ideas that we put out there can get us into trouble. And Solomon's advice to us is sometimes you just got to keep your mouth shut. Sometimes you need to refrain. Sometimes you need to hold back from that. I feel like we really need Solomon to speak to us in this day and age. We have so many opportunities to share our thoughts, our opinions, our words with people. I mean, we have this thing called Facebook. Am I saying that right? Facebook, is that it? Yeah. We have this thing called Facebook and other social media outlets where you can just put your opinions out there. Or you can read an article and say, well, I agree with what this guy said, or I agree with what she wrote, or whatever it is, and I'm going to put this idea out there. So many opportunities for us to express our opinions, and here's what I think about this, and here's what I think about that. And after all, this is America, and for some reason we think that we're entitled to opinions, and sometimes maybe we are entitled to opinions, and sometimes we may not be entitled to an opinion about everything under the sun here. And so we have so many opportunities to share our thoughts, to share our feelings. And it's not just about the world of the internet. In real life, too, we have all these opportunities to speak our words, to share our thoughts, to share our opinions. And Solomon says, hang on, be careful about what you say and how you say it and when you say it and to whom you're speaking. Be careful about. Just sometimes you need to be quiet. That's one of the reasons that I was kind of late to the party with Facebook. I didn't sign up for that. And by the way, I got to tell you, I'm so glad Facebook didn't exist when I was 16 or 17. I would have put some stuff out there that was just like, oh, are you kidding me, man? I mean, back in my day, it was just instant messenger and you had your away message. Does anybody remember that? Some of you are from that generation. And, so I put some Radiohead song lyrics as my away message. And it was like, yeah, man, I'm so deep. Like, that's all it was for me, right? But now you can express your opinions to, like, the entire world. Oh, and it's dangerous. It's really, really dangerous. I remember something my grandfather said, and I think he only said this once. He said, don't put anything in writing you wouldn't want on the front page of the newspaper. Don't put anything in writing you wouldn't want on the front page of the newspaper. And that really made me think as a child. I'm like, yeah, I mean, can you imagine something? I put something personal down or I said something mean about somebody and it's on the front page of the paper? And that was like the wisdom of his day. And now we take our words and we publish them all the time. We are the ones publishing our words. And sometimes it's like, whoa, we need to exercise some self-control. Don't say these things. Don't put these ideas out there. And like I said, I was a little bit leery of Facebook because it's like, oh, I don't want to post some stuff or put some ideas up or some opinions up and have them received wrong and have people think one thing. And I don't want to get people upset. I don't want people to tune me out before I have a chance to actually speak to them face-to-face. Okay? And so I try to behave myself when it comes to social media and Facebook in particular, not put ideas out there that are going to offend or upset people or just stir up trouble for no reason. There's one time I broke that rule. One time I broke that rule. I was just coming back from a Kenya trip, and I just seen so much suffering. I just seen so much poverty. I just had this experience. And for those of you who have gone on the Kenya trip, you know it's tough. You're only there for 2 weeks, but you come back and you got to reacclimate yourself to the way of the world here, and it can be tough. And so I was a little bit raw, I was really tough, and I saw some stuff that people were posting on Facebook. I was like, I got to make a comment about this, because if you'd seen the poverty that I've seen, you wouldn't, whatever. And it wasn't even that. It was like a sentence or two, and I tried to have a sense of humor about it, but it wasn't a good idea. It was one of those times where I should have kept silent, and yet I felt the need to put my opinion out there. This is the world that we live in. We just sometimes we need to keep silent. It happened to me this week. I was tempted again this week. I saw somebody post something on Facebook. It was this video. It's like, video calls men who plays video games losers. I'm like, oh, seriously? A preacher's going to say something like that? And I'm like, oh, yeah. And I want to distance myself. And my first response is I want to make sure that Christians are well represented and to say to people, hey, it's not okay that some preacher called people losers. That's not okay under any circumstances. That's what I wanted to say. And then, of course, I was like, you know what? I got to refrain. And then somebody went on and posted a comment. It's like, this is what's wrong with the church community. Didn't Jesus say, judge not, lest ye be judged? The Christians need to listen to their own. I'm like, oh, no. I really wanted to comment. I really wanted to say something. But I said, you know what? This is not a battle for me, okay? This is not an opportunity. This is just an opportunity to get myself into trouble. And I need to refrain here. Here's what we need to think about as people, not just as Christians, but as human beings. We need to think about the result of the words we speak. What is going to result? There's an action, there's a reaction, there's a cause, there's effects, there are consequences. What are we working towards? What is the result that we're working towards? And is it worth working towards? What is the goal that we have in mind? When we post our opinions or when we share our opinions or whatever it is, what are we working towards? Are we trying to lift ourselves up? Are we trying to elevate? Are we trying to correct? Are we trying to bash? What are we trying to do? What are our goals? And are they goals we should have in the first place? So much of what Solomon says is you need to think about the consequences of your actions. You need to think about where this course of action is going to lead you. You need to think about the words that you speak. I see some people nodding their heads. You see this thing go on. To think about your words and how powerful they can be and how dangerous, how potentially dangerous they can be. I've got a friend, believe it or not. I've got a friend, and he's, when you take a look at his belief system and my belief system, it's basically identical. But he's one of these people who's always posting this stuff online, always posting, this article, and it's mostly like conservative agenda stuff. And again, I might agree with his perspective, but he posts these things that just bash the other side. I'm like, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? You're not going to win anybody's heart over. Be careful about the opinions you speak. Be careful about what you say. We need to have this understanding. We need to realize the power of our words, the power of expressing our opinions. And here's the thing. Let me talk to the Christians in the room. For those of us who are Christians, there's a lot at stake here. Because it's one thing to put some ideas out there and you say something wrong or it comes out wrong or you put it out there in the wrong context at the wrong time and then have someone think ill of you. Like, oh, well, that person's no good. Or to think ill of your family, to think ill of your community. It's one thing that if your words just reflect something negative about yourself. It's another thing if your words misrepresent Jesus. Now, I've talked to you all about this before. When your people, when your circle of friends and the people in your life, when they know that you're a Christian, when they find that out about you, when you find out you're a church person, you're a Jesus follower, whatever you want to call yourself, when they find that out about you, they're going to connect what you do and what you say and the ideas you put out there, they're going to connect that to Jesus. Automatically. I'm not saying it's fair, I'm not saying it's just the reality of life. Oh, wait, you've said this, and I know you're a Christian. Is that what Christians think? Oh, you've said this, and you claim to follow Jesus. Is that what Jesus was about? You just got online and slammed one of our presidential candidates. Is that what Jesus is about? The stakes are high. And so I think all of us in general, all people, regardless of your faith system or what you believe, all of us need to be careful with our words, but I think that's especially true for those of us who have the audacity to claim to be Christians. We use the name of Christ to describe ourselves, Christians. We are using that name. We have to be careful that we don't inadvertently misrepresent him. And like I said, I'm not saying it's fair, why should my words be tied to Jesus? But that's just what people will do in your life. They know you're a Christian, and they're going to tie your actions, your words, your opinions, and how you communicate them to Jesus. Take a look at the scripture passage that's in your bulletin today, if you would. This passage speaks a little bit about the correlation between wisdom and understanding. And we'll talk through what that means a little bit. It says, Proverbs 14, starting with verse 6, "The mocker seeks wisdom and finds none." Now, to go back earlier in our series, we talked a little bit about what the mocker is, or depending on your translation, it may say scoffer. So the scoffer is the one who really tears down wisdom. So once you've torn it down, once you've argued against wisdom, where are you going to find it? Where are you going to find a logic? Where are you going to find a way to make your case? If you've just torn down logic, if you've just torn down wisdom, you're not going to be able to find it. I mean, you've basically shooed wisdom away. That's what the mockers do. But knowledge comes easily to the discerning. Okay, this is the NIV that's in your bulletin. Let me read you what it says in the New American Standard, which is a more direct translation from the language Solomon spoke, from Hebrew. It says this: "A scoffer seeks wisdom and finds none, but knowledge is easy to one who has understanding." To one who has understanding. Okay, an understanding of how the world works, an understanding of what really matters, an understanding of what's best, not just for the individual, but for everyone. That's a big thing. One who has this understanding has a knowledge of what to do. One who has an understanding has knowledge about what to say and when not to say and when to speak and when to be silent. One who has understanding of how God has created this world and the systems that he's put in place and the designs that he has for us. Someone who understands that, knows what to do and what not to do, what to say and what not to say. Someone who has this understanding. And then we're told, "Stay away from a fool," verse 7, "for you will not find knowledge on their lips." Again, the words that someone speaks. Someone who has considered wisdom, considered the wise way, who has heard a wise approach to life, maybe acknowledges that really is wise, but has chosen not to do the wise thing. That's what a fool is. Someone who knows what's wise and has made a choice, I'm not going to do what's wise. And so Solomon says, you need to stay away. Don't listen to their words. And I know this is a difficult thing for those of us who are followers of Jesus, because we need to be in the community. We don't want to trap ourselves in this Christian bubble where we all do Christian things and we sing Christian songs and we go to Christian concerts and I don't know. We don't want to trap ourselves in that bubble. We can't. As soon as we do that, we lose our witness. We lose our ability to influence people, and we can't do that. But we need to be careful. Solomon also warned us, it was in the reading this week, a companion of fools suffers harm, okay? So you can, have people in your life and they can have a different perspective, and some of them may be wise, some of them may be foolish, and it's not my job to go through and say, okay, you've got these friends and those friends are foolish, and don't spend time with them. It's not about that, but you need to be careful. Don't be, again, their words, don't be persuaded by their words because they don't have knowledge on their lips. They don't know what they're talking about, okay? You can love a fool. You can love a fool. You can serve a fool, but don't receive advice from one, okay? And this isn't about taking a superior road. This is just about having understanding. You know where the person's at in their life, and if they want to speak advice into you, you just got to say, nope, that's not the way the influence is going to work in this relationship. You don't have to say that out loud, by the way. In fact, don't say that out loud. Someone say, don't say that, okay? But you need to know, which way is the influence working? Which way is the influence working? I think I've already shared in this series where I've talked about this before, maybe it's small group, that I had some friends in my life, and I wanted the influence to be working this way from me to them. But there was a certain guy that I was friends with, and I knew that every time I hung out with him, I'd get myself into trouble. The influence was just working the wrong way. And so I made a decision, okay, this is one person that I can't really affect, that I can't really have influence over. Okay. I'm nothing against him. It's not his fault. But I know my limits, I know my weaknesses, and so we need to be careful. Be careful of this kind of thing, okay? Befriend, or, love on that fool, serve that fool, and don't tell them they're a fool to their face, okay? But make sure the influence is working the correct way. Verse 8, the wisdom of the prudent Here we go. Is to give thought to their ways. But the folly of fools is deception. Okay. This is tough. You know how tough it is to be lied to, and you know it? You know somebody in your life is telling you something that's not true. Like, I know you're lying. But you can't even say that. You can't even say that because it's impolite to call somebody out on their lies, and they're just going to get angry at you. I'm not lying. How dare you say this about me? Oh, and it escalates from there. The problem, and again, Solomon is referring to this group of people as fools. The problem with fools is that they're lying to themselves first and foremost. Then they lie to you. They have embraced a deception of some kind. They've deceived themselves. And then they're trying to convince you that their approach to life is good. I know this is tough because, I can't give detailed examples without, pointing the finger at people and being judgmental and all. It's tough. I know I'm being vague, but I feel like enough of you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this thing where people are lying to themselves. It's like, I can't believe this person just lied to me. I can't believe they're trying to pass this off. Well, they're lying to themselves. First and foremost. It's a deception. It's a self-deception that they're embracing. The truth, for whatever reason, is too tough. The truth is too inconvenient. The truth is too difficult. And so I'm going to live out this other form of life. I'm going to live in this deception, and I'm going to speak it into you, and we have to reject that. Fools mock at sin. I'm reading from the NASB now. Fools mock at sin, but among the upright there is goodwill. In the NIV it says, fools mock at making amends for sin, but goodwill is found among the upright. And so there's this thing here, and again, this is so dense what Solomon is saying, and it's beautifully put and all that, but there's a lot here in these few verses. And one of the ideas in verse 9 is this: there is goodwill found in the upright. There is goodwill found among people who desire righteousness, who desire to live righteously. And that goodwill, again, that is taking into consideration what's best for everyone. It's not a self-centered thing. Goodwill. Goodwill, not the place where you get clothes secondhand, but to have that goodwill among, I want what's best for you. I have your best interest in mind. I care about our community. I care about our country. I care about our world. And that's what the righteous, the upright, possess. And so when a righteous person speaks into our lives, we need to consider what they have to say because they're looking out for us. This is Solomon. Solomon is saying, I care enough about you all to impart these words to you. Please consider them. This is what we have to do here. We need to consider what Solomon has to say. We need to be upright. We need to speak words of life into people. And we need to disengage sometimes. Some battles are not ours. Okay? All of us in this room, we have influence with other people. We have influence with other people. And Solomon, part of what he's encouraging us to do is to be thoughtful. Verse 8, the prudent give thought to their ways. To be thoughtful. When I say thoughtful, I'm not talking about considered. I'm not talking about being kind of big. Being thoughtful. And really the idea behind this, it's more like be strategic. Be strategic in how you live your life and how you work your influence among other people. Be strategic about the words you speak and the words that you don't speak. Be strategic in your reaching out to people. Be thoughtful and think through what's going to happen if I do this. What's going to happen if I speak this? How can I impact this person's life? As a church, we have a vision of what God has called us to do. As far as we can discern, God has called us to reach this community. God has called us to share in His mission, to engage in His mission of making disciples and sharing the gospel. And so we have a goal. And at some point, maybe in the fall, we can unpack these things a little bit. But we have a vision, and our goal is to see every single person in southern Delaware County have repeated opportunities to experience the gospel. That's a big goal. That's a big goal. And so we have a strategy behind that goal. We have to be thoughtful. We can't just wish it and want it to happen. We can pray about it, but we need to be thoughtful and think about how do we execute a strategy to reach this goal? How do we do this? And so again, without unpacking everything about that and everything about our goal and everything about our strategy, I'll just tell you where we are right now. Where we are right now is we're in a phase or a stage where we are encouraging the people who make up this collective, the individuals, you all who make up this body, to work your circles of influence, to be intentional about the people who are in your lives and to share words of wisdom with them, to share words with them that will reflect the nature and character of Jesus Christ and what it means to be a Christian and what it means to be a part of the church. That's where we are. Work your influence. This is a small group of people compared to some churches, but when you think about every individual that's in here and all the people that we know, wow, this small group assembled here, we have a lot of influence with a lot of people in this community. We need to work that influence. Let me give you an example of what I mean by the sitting down and being strategic and being thoughtful, okay? Hope Community Church, to some degree, started with me and Holly sitting at a table writing down names. Here are the people we know. Here are the people we have influence with. Here are the people that we can speak words of life into. Here are the people that we can work on and nurture and love on. And it kind of really, just, a certain way of thinking started there. And so all the people on that list, not all of them are here right now, okay? Just so you know. But some of the people on the list are here right now and have become this church. Some of the people on the list have checked out the church and want to be a part of it and then have left. So we kind of like lost those battles. That happens, okay? That's just what happens, all right? And some of the people haven't really connected yet, and we're still praying for them. We're still being strategic. We're still being thoughtful. But how can we reach out to this person? And it's not about dragging them into the theater. It's how can we help them realize what God is really about, and that He is a God of love, and He wants what's best for them. And so this is, to some degree, this is kind of an easy sermon for me to preach to this crowd, because so many of you here have already embraced this reality. You're already doing this. You're being thoughtful about the people in your circle of influence. So keep doing it. Press into that. Be a little bit more strategic. Be a little bit more thoughtful. Say, okay, yeah, I am going to go to this event so I can talk to this person, so I can build that relationship, so I can show this person what it means to be a Christian. Great. Fantastic. And as you know, those of you who have been working your circles of influence, as you know, this thing takes time. This takes time. There's something that Jesus said. It's Matthew chapter 10. I think it's verse 16. But He says it to His followers, and He's about to send them out into the world. He's about to send them out to go and tell other people about me and what I'm about and how much I love them. He's about to send them out, and He says to them, I am sending you out like sheep among wolves. In other words, it's a dangerous world out there. I'm sending you out into this very dangerous world full of wolves. I'm sending you out like sheep among wolves. Does anybody have that verse? Anyone find that? Is it Matthew?
Yeah,
Matthew 10:16. Thank you. Therefore, depending on the translation that you're looking at, therefore, here's what we need to do. This is what Jesus said to His original disciples, and I think this applies to us as well. I'm sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore, be as wise as a serpent. As wise as a serpent, or as shrewd as a snake, but as innocent as a dove. A lot of animals in that verse there, right? We got wolves. Okay. I'm sending you out like sheep among wolves who are basically defenseless, like, whoa, boy, I'm going to get attacked. I'm sending you out like sheep among wolves. Here's what you need to do. You need to be wise like a snake. And it's not about being crafty. It's about being discerning, being calculating. I'm sending you out. Be thoughtful, be strategic, be calculating. But don't be sneaky. You got to be as innocent also. Be innocent as a dove. You don't have an ulterior motive. You're not working for any personal gain. Go out there, be thoughtful, be strategic, be wise. Those are the words of Jesus to His original followers. And as I said, I think they apply to us as well. So let's take the time to do this. I know that several people in this room have already done this thing where you've sat down and you've considered your circle of influence. Maybe it's time to go back and think about who are the people in your life that you have some influence with. Who are the people in your life that you can work on, that you can build a relationship with, that you can expose to Jesus? Hey, this is what God is really like. This is what Jesus is really like. Who are those people? And how can you strategically work on them? It's about strategy. And so we have this very big goal as a church, and the only way that this works is if we as a collective work together, and all the individuals who make up the church, if we're working on our circle of influence, I believe we can change this community. Guys, I think we already have. We're starting to see the signs of change here. You know, Hope Community Church has become the church that it's like this. People may not show up here on a Sunday morning, but there's this attitude. Well, if I did go to church, it'd be that one. Okay, that's a start, right? I don't always go to church, but when I do, it's Hope Community Church, right? That's that's a start. That's a start. Let's keep working our influence. This is not about what we want for us. This is about what Jesus wants for his people in this community. So let's get out there and let's be wise. Let me pray for you. Father God, I ask that you would please grant us your wisdom. Show us when to speak. Show us when to be silent. Tell us when to engage. Tell us when to refrain. Bring into our hearts and minds the people that we should be working on, that we should be serving, that we should be loving. Bring into our hearts and minds the people that we need to have a conversation with, the people that we need to take out to lunch, the people that we need to email, the people that we need to send a card to, whoever it may be and whatever it may be. Father God, just bring us a sense of direction. Father God, we've talked about strategy, and I just pray that you would give us strategy, give us a plan, give us an approach. I pray that for us as individuals that we would be mindful of our people in our lives, but really as a collective, God, as your church, lay your strategy out before us. Allow us to live into this mission you have given us. We pray this all in your name, Jesus. Amen.